Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is June 24th, and we're doing government and social stories to start your week. One more reminder, because this is the last week that this is happening. This program is being moved to a new channel, so if you want to continue watching this program, you will have to move to the other channel. We've been saying that for a couple months, but in case you're new here or you've missed that
That's
somehow.
the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
And actually, do we have? Oh, no, we don't. Yeah, I guess it is. It's
Also, 4th of July is on a Friday. You're doing stuff, right?
We have family coming down, yeah.
Should we do a Monday live stream on that week?
Ooh.
Might be good.
Celebrate the remnants of our patriotism or something.
There's a
lot. This is probably going to be a short episode, so we're going to try to ramble some because there's a lot happening in the news that we're just not going to touch with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, not all of it's tech news. Most of it's just sad news.
So that would be a July 7th live stream, right?
So many announcements this stream. We have new stuff in the store. So many links for you to click.
Engage below if you're excited about a mid-year live stream.
And engage if you're excited about this, which I'm sure no one is. This is not a totally new thing. They've been doing this for a while for the high-risk people, but that was just people coming into the country. This is now all about students who are getting visas to come here to learn.
The Guardian reports had the best reporting on this, which is a sad reflection of things as well, I think. A little bit of a meta there. Their headline was, New U.S. visa rules will force foreign students to unlock their social media profiles. Now, this article says that diplomats are going to be the one to review that. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, I'm sure.
Customs and Border Patrol tends to get a little handsy. So
yeah, it's going to be Diplomat GPT. So you don't have to give them your password. So far, they haven't announced that. But you do have to make it public. No discussion of what happens if you don't have it.
Well, everybody has social media.
I guess
right?
Everybody that age does, right? But what if, not everybody has all the social medias.
Yeah.
What if you exclusively put your terrorist content on Blue Sky? And you're like, yeah, here's my Twitter account. Well, here's another interesting fact about it, which I wasn't sure why this has anything to do with America. The screening for anti-Semitic activity matches similar guidelines given at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services under the Department of Homeland Security. It's like, I thought this was a melting pot. Seems like we're picking a winner here. And this is maybe one of the most terrifying headlines. It's sort of, this is a little bit meta as well, but this is the tech oligarchy inserting themselves directly into something.
The chain of command,
that
literally.
Should never be that way.
Silicon Valley execs join the Army as officers, but won't have to attend a boot camp.
Yeah, because running a company is the exact same as having to, run a field exercise or, control troops.
This is an article about how these tech folks are going to do this to accelerate adoption of tech within military services, but there's nothing more terrifying than Master and Commander Lord Bezos.
So Palantir, Meta, OpenAI, Thinking Machines, and former OpenAI CTOs are all now lieutenant colonels, right? Yeah, lieutenant colonels in the Army.
Like in the same way that Colonel Sanders,
Well, he purchased his. Well, I guess.
Yeah. So
but he was only a Kentucky colonel. He was not part of the armed forces.
There's few things more terrifying than Lieutenant Colonel Altman.
So, obviously this is because everybody now understands that the next war is a drone war, and you need these guys, but they are
just
actually
purchasing their way into government because they think our government's obsolete and they should be in control.
Well, also they point out here that there's a huge conflict of interest because those contracts,
there's so many angles where it's wrong, and yet it's happening anyway.
I've also noticed an interesting dichotomy in a lot of these tech contracts. They're really interested in getting the money. They're less interested in the efficacy of the thing that they're supposed to provide for the money.
That's true everywhere.
These guys are going to be Army Reserve, so they will do X number of hours per year as their requirement, but they pointed out that they would be open to remote work, which is great for warfighting, right? I guess war is going to be remote from now on, so
you clock in.
Yeah, we're just thinking about this in the wrong timeline. It's anachronistic thinking, but there's just something terrifying about the corporate overlords moving into government.
Oh, I just got an amazing idea for a screenplay. It's a Terminator type future, the Terminators, but we don't have thinking machines. Instead, it was someone that had come to America and was wrongfully deported that is piloting the machine remotely.
And if you want some of those conflicts of interest, we don't have to go far.
OpenAI wins a $200 million contract with the U.S. military. It's going to be, providing AI insights on data sets. And that's something you should keep in mind as we talk about the other AI tools that provide insights on data sets throughout the rest of the program in the week, because we will have a lot of examples of that going very, very wrong in a much less serious context.
Are they going to have them doing like strategic work? Because didn't we just fire a bunch of our great generals? Like,
Yeah.
Well,
what are they going to be training on? Are they training on second-rate general work?
they give a description, but it's all just word salad. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really tell you anything. It sounds like they're going to start with replacing all the IT and infrastructure for that kind of thing, and do the office work, and then slowly move into killing.
I'm wondering if we're slowly entering in the same future where like the ovens were broken on the destroyer and nobody can come fix them because it was wildly expensive. Are we just doing that with our IT now?
I
Oh,
guess,
only
but-
OpenAI can touch that. That's part of the contract.
But this time it's going to be the ovens are broken on the aircraft carrier and we can't get them to work. Well, actually, they're not broken. They're just out of tokens. And we need to buy more, but the price went up.
And it takes so long to go through that contracting process to get more tokens.
And Microsoft is becoming one of the competitors in the AI world. But as usual, the government does not like how they do business.
Microsoft should change its Copilot advertising, says Watchdog. And at the end of the day, Microsoft did change how they're advertising Copilot, but they said they didn't agree with the Watchdog's assessment. It was funny because the advertising Watchdog said basically that Microsoft was glomming on the word Copilot on everything and then trying to charge Office 365 users extra for using Copilot features when no one wanted it.
And specifically, like, hey, you call everything Copilot, but you advertise that it has these benefits, but not everything that you say is Copilot has these benefits. Also, efficiency. They said that it increased efficiency by up to 70%. How did they measure that? They asked people, how much do you feel like that increased your efficiency? They didn't actually measure anything. It was just self-reporting. So the BBB was not a fan of that. And here's another step I fear as we move into the corporate control of the government and things that only the government should control, like, I don't know, money.
U.S. Senate passes the Genius Act to regulate stablecoins, marking a crypto industry win. It's weird how this was stuck forever.
Now, if you're wondering why are you so afraid of that? Oh, no. Oh,
I
that's
lost
in
the
the
tab.
business section. Well, you're just going to have to watch tomorrow, huh? Well, I'll give you a spoiler. It's because every company is going to have a stablecoin. And they're going to use that to bypass Visa and MasterCard, who charge insane. Your groceries are more expensive than they need to be because they're passing the cost through to you because they're paying these crazy processing fees. You know when you don't have to pay processing fees? When you're using Walmart coin.
I can get behind anything that disrupts the Visa MasterCard chokehold because that should have been put to bed a long time ago.
But then what if all the grocery stores form a cartel? And then there's one coin for all groceries.
Is that cartel worse than the cartel that we currently have with Visa and MasterCard where they choke small businesses with higher fees? that you just
Eventually, yeah.
literally can't
If they
negotiate?
if they keep consolidating, yes. Maybe for a little while. And this is the way the tech works, right? Like for a little while it's great. And so everyone flocks to that platform and then it gets bigger and bigger and then it gets enshittified.
Netflix.
Yeah.
It's always
Discord, anyone.
it's always been wild to me how if you look at like antitrust laws and like interstate nexus commerce laws and those kinds of things, it's like aren't the way that credit card companies operate like de facto antitrust, like economies of scale? Like we've just forgot 3% is reasonable. It's, we've completely forgotten about economies of scale.
How about the primary dealers in the Federal Reserve?
That is a deep rabbit hole that is like, yes, you can just keep on going down that rabbit hole.
Well, I
You're
think
saying we should be living on a compound and we should get some chickens. and start trading with our
They
neighbors.
won't let us do that. People have tried that, and they started a fire. But out in California, they are actually looking at some of the problems with AI versus the federal just rubber stamp everything kind of way. However, I feel like they're looking at the most terrible possibilities, maybe just to get the biggest audience. But I don't think that's the right argument.
California AI policy report warns of irreversible harms. Yeah, I feel like that they're deliberately focusing on things that are going to get stuck in a quagmire instead of focusing on like the low-hanging fruit of.
Yeah. So they're talking about dirty bombs, biological weapons, and nuclear enrichment. Like it's going to help people do that. Which, yeah, those are terrible things. But that's not nearly the list of things we should be worried about. That's not the most likely ways that AI is going to destroy our lives.
See also the story about the man who loved AI more than his wife and child.
Yeah. And they do point out, that, hey, we can't let the states not have autonomy here, which is exactly what the federal government is aiming for.
Well, the corporate overlords in the government.
Which is what it is now.
Uh,
If it's not directly corporate overlord, it's someone who's sponsored. I mean, can you give me an example? Maybe Massey is not, but I'm not sure. And also in California, they are looking at what we've all known about most workplaces, which is it's just a surveillance nightmare. But when you let a robot run that, it gets infinitely worse.
California's No Robo Bosses Act advances taking aim at AI in the workplace. This seems like an act that is a lot more steps in terms of just the machine must never be put in charge because a machine can never be held accountable.
But it's not just in charge, because they point out, keystroke logging, monitoring your screen, monitoring your mouse, cameras that actually watch what you're physically doing, all that stuff, reading your emails to see if you're disgruntled at all or whatever.
they didn't put a smiley face at the end of this email. Something's wrong.
Exactly. AI can do that very quickly at very low cost. And they point out several companies who are doing that as a service. Like, yeah, just pay us a monthly fee. We'll monitor everything. We'll let you know if there's any dissent.
What if the employees are just gruntled?
It also, I thought that like some of the marketing material for the company is very careful to avoid saying exactly this, but I got the impression that they would also warn you about labor organizing activity going on in your company. It's like, oh, you're gonna worry about unions, huh?
Well, they probably wouldn't warn you. That would be illegal, but they'll warn your bosses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would also be illegal, I think, too. It's like, oh, this is discouraging union organizing activity.
Well, they'll have lunch with your bosses. At a taco truck somewhere where there's guaranteed to be no recordings, and they won't bring their phones. Everybody's getting laid off by AI. If you don't think that train is already rolling over people, then you're crazy. You're not paying attention. And New York is saying that, hey, maybe we should pay a little bit of attention to this. And the first step is figuring out exactly how much is attributed to AI.
Is AI the reason for your layoff? New York to become the first state to require companies to disclose if so, which they'll definitely do. They'll definitely not say that it's, something else.
So
it was just not a culture fit.
So now there will be new options on the drop down. So this is the warn system. If you're going to do a mass layoff, you have to register with them. You go through like an online form. So if you choose technological innovation or automation as the reason you're doing a mass layoff, you now have to have I think it's an optional reason exactly what service is replacing them, what AI. So they can try to keep track of that. But that's only for mass layoffs.
They'll just slowly roll them out, like month at a time, right?
Yeah.
Just right under that limit.
I mean, they could cut the maximum every period, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's probably what they'll do. And they'll do the Google thing, right? Where we're not firing you. We're just going to throw money at you, or we're going to make you come back to the office, or we're going to make you move, or
right.
something like that. And when those companies defy the rulers, they get slapped with fines, right? I mean, we can count on our beautiful governments to protect us from this kind of thing because there are laws against some of them.
Tech giants Apple and Meta to escape sanctions for failing to meet EU digital rules. This is kind of disappointing.
And yet also not surprising.
So Apple had the side loading or not being able to link off to get the payments, I think, right? That was theirs. And Meta was the pay or allow tracking. Both of those violated the DMA. Or no, is DMA...
Digital Markets Act.
Is that the Euro one, right? Not the British one. And they gave them a grace period of 60 days. And they're like, hey, at the end of this 60 days, if you don't fix this, the daily fines start. Well, we're at the end of the 60 days, and now they're like, they appealed it. Let's let them go.
The one thing, though, so this is a thing we could maybe talk about. Like Meta, sort of did a knee-jerk, okay, if you don't want us to mine your data, then just pay us to use the platform, which on the face of it, I don't really see a problem with. Their actual implementation was clunky and terrible and designed to not actually work. But the board here or whatever did acknowledge that Meta had changed the structure of like they're going to use less data, and they made the payment thing easier, and that's still under review. But does paying for Meta services, Facebook, etc., make sense? I mean, I don't, on the face of it, I don't see a problem with that.
The problem, and I agree, like it's a business, they can do what they want. The problem is everything moved on to Facebook while it was free. Yeah. Like you cannot,
that's
no
what
one has
did.
a website.
That's the business model is you capture the market and then you charge for it.
You can blame the business that's using it, but when I need to talk to a business and I can't get any of their information because they don't have a website and I don't have a Facebook account, it is weird.
It's got some interesting parallels, don't you think? Because we always make fun of like Hikvision, and there is an argument to be made that maybe they flooded the market to cause a lot of competitors for cameras to go out of business over the years, and maybe that was just cheap manufacturing or more efficiency, or maybe it was state subsidies to take over the industries to corner the market to cause everybody else to go out of business. That's also a Walmart playbook. Like Walmart's like, oh yeah, let's just take this over, put everybody out of business, and then we can jack up the prices. So it's almost the information economy version of Walmart. Walmart hasn't been punished as heavily as...
Neither are great. Neither are good for the consumer.
But presumably they could still be punished. It's just that they're not going to punish them during the appeals process, which could take a very long time. So
yeah, probably a good 10 years, right? It seems like that they really drag it out.
Now, Austria, boy, what a great thing Austria had. Austria had some rules that said, no, you can't just pilfer people's private communications. That's great, right? But what they did, as we've seen so many times, is they just were like, hey, we're not allowed to do this. Hey, America, would you do this for us? And America was like, sure, don't worry about it. And they found some terrorism, and they found a piece of terrorism, which I find it hard to believe, really. But I guess it did happen before, right? The Taylor Swift concert in Austria, there was a planned terror attack. So if you're Austrian, you didn't get a Taylor Swift concert. They canceled all 3 days. So they're using that. By the way, those of you that didn't live through 2001, it's going to get crazy. The anti-terrorism stuff is going to strip your rights, and that's exactly what they did here.
Austrian government agrees on plan to allow monitoring of secure messaging. Oh, this will give them the right to go to Discord and WhatsApp and all sorts of other apps to get them to give whatever they have. This also, the Reuters article is terrible because it doesn't talk about implications for end-to-end encrypted messaging either. Because with end-to-end encrypted messaging, all of the crazy arguments they apply here, or they say here for the like WhatsApp and everything else, it's not truly end-to-end, would apply for end-to-end. And so there's only two choices. You either outlaw end-to-end encryption or you build in a backdoor, either of which is terrible.
And if you're buying new appliances, also terrible.
Makers of air fryers and smart speakers have been told to respect users' right to privacy, which they will not do because there is no force behind asking them to do that.
But you don't have to put it on the Wi-Fi, folks.
I don't think
they're putting wireless radios in these yet. Now, if they start doing that, if you find out that your air fryer has a wireless radio in it, if it's got a SIM card, here's a pro tip. Take it out. Put it in your phone. That's free data. Till they turn it off, go live stream. Also, since we got some time today, I have a similar model to this. Look at this plastic heat shield, right? It's a hollow body with holes in it. When you wash this, it fills up with dirty water. And it all has to come out of those little holes.
It seems like planned obsolescence.
Can you imagine the amount of mold that's inside the heat shield on my air fryer?
That just adds a little extra flavor to the fries.
And then that like superheated air is probably circulating through there and pulling those spores.
I think if the superheated air, it's probably dry air. Like, it's probably killing the mold, right?
But after I wash it, I don't use it.
Oh,
I
that's a
put
good
it back in there.
I mean, it would probably kill it eventually when you ran it again.
I hope so.
I think that someday there will be a website that is like, this is the optimal design air fryer, and it is the reference design for all air fryers on planet Earth.
It will be thrown down in the SEO rankings by a bunch of AI generated
There aren't
garbage.
going to be any more websites.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember the invention of the doorknob? I mean, that really wasn't that long ago, and there were all kinds of crazy designs.
I don't
Neither
remember
do you. What are you talking about?
It wasn't that long ago. You can look at like old patents and things. It's like we were figuring it because it was a latch system before the doorknob, and then there was a doorknob, and then there were all these crazy designs for a doorknob, and now there's like, this is the one true design for an internal door latching system with a doorknob. And you know, we've switched from a knob to a lever, I suppose.
A lever.
But the lever is not ideal because now pets can use it.
That's
Or
the
raptors
idea.
if it's a certain type of
All
door,
right,
yeah.
of course, raptors.
It is kind of wild that the law mandates that you must not have raptor-proof doors.
And the Dutch were going after Apple, not for the, it's for the external payments, but a very, very specific use case.
Dutch court confirms Apple abused dominant position in dating apps. And so this is the commission thing where the Dutch court ruled that Apple has to let people, the dating app providers, link off to their sites to handle payment or an account or whatever. And Apple still charged them a 27% commission. And so the Dutch commission here said, no, that's abusing because you're not part of the transaction anymore. You don't need to charge them a commission. So Apple's appealing. But it's just it's the same court case that we've discussed, just smaller.
But this is the second. So they accused them of it, and then Apple had the grace period. This is a confirmation. So this is one step further into the process. And Japan, and as the register points out, a lot of countries have decided to take advantage of some of the angst going on in America.
Japan builds a $700 million fund to lure foreign academic talent. Researchers yearning to earn some yen to escape the situation here in America.
Also, Japan is, we're dealing with our demographic crisis through uncontrolled immigration. But Japan will not do that. So they are slowly dying out. They need something. It's probably smart to bring in academics. I mean, they're not going to wipe the old people's butts, I guess, but maybe they will if they're poor college students for a while. And we have a Middle East section in the government news this week. Guess what it's all about?
Iran has banned officials from using internet-connected devices because it turns out that those internet-connected devices love to give away your physical position. And that's bad for obvious reasons.
And somehow, those missiles knew exactly where the nuclear scientists and Revolutionary Guard commanders were. Exactly. And they went and found them, and it wasn't good. And that was the first step, and then it began to escalate.
Why Iran is urging residents to delete WhatsApp amid the conflict and WhatsApp's response.
Look at the claw on this picture they've chosen. They've got like a weirdly clawed thumb.
That's the TikTok thumb.
Yeah.
You think that's AI generated? It's got an attribution.
No, it's probably a real image. It looks, I mean, I don't know. Who knows anymore? But it does look very claw-like.
This article is terrible because it doesn't mention the pagers.
Yeah, that's well, I think they didn't want to upset WhatsApp because WhatsApp was like, no, it's perfectly safe. They shouldn't do this. This is unfair. But again, they knew exactly where all those people were. They claim to know exactly where the supreme leader is. But that was not enough because I guess people maybe didn't follow that advice or things got more serious because this is where we are now.
Iran is going offline to prevent more cyber attacks, according to The Verge. There's a chart there that it's like the internet traffic, and it's off.
We're paywalled.
And also, Elon Musk has turned on Starlink. If you have a Starlink terminal that is located in that region, it'll just work. You don't need an account. You don't need anything. If you get a Starlink account, it'll just work.
I sort of suspect part of the reason that they turned it off was more just to,
Yeah, but here's the thing.
stop dissent.
If there's a Starlink on your roof, someone can see that. It might make you a target.
Even if you've disguised it cleverly, you can detect the radio waves, which also, makes it easy to see from a targeting perspective.
Now, I've been getting all of my Middle East war news from alternate sources. I mean, a couple of online articles, yeah, but if I'm looking for live coverage, I'm looking for people running their own cameras and people on YouTube or something just putting all that together. And apparently I'm not alone.
Social media is now the main source of news in the U.S., research suggests.
Part of me is like, oh, that's not great, but also like, what are we doing here?
There was a thing in there that people had learned for like accuracy. It's like, oh, when these folks are accurate, people remember that.
Or if they, hit your biases just right.
There's
a little bit of both.
There's a quote in here. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So they describe this as the problem. Well, I got news for you, whoever was quoted here. That's what the mainstream media has been doing for decades. And that's the reason we don't trust you.
It said populist politicians around the world are increasingly able to bypass influencers who get special access but rarely ask difficult questions, with many implicated to spreading false narratives or worse.
Basically controlling the access.
Narrative.
So who was allowed in the White House press room and who wasn't in the previous administration?
In this administration, too. It just changes.
Yeah.
So
I remember learning about yellow journalism when I was like in middle school. Like I have a vivid memory of this, and I was like, thank goodness that doesn't happen today.
Oh, yeah.
And then I, got older and was like, wait a minute.
And then you learn that all those weird laws that we have, like the drug war and stuff, it was like, oh, they just made all that up.
Yeah. It's,
And making things up is going to get so much easier.
Google's frighteningly good VO3 AI videos to be integrated with YouTube Shorts. And by integrated, they mean they can take your video and turn it into a short. It's like, this is a good video. Let's turn it into something that's more akin to the attention span we plan to feed.
I cannot get rid of YouTube Shorts on my homepage. Like, I tell it, don't show it to me. I've even, put a blocker on my ad blocker. I'm like, don't show me this block on this page. And it always comes back.
Because they know that you always target the youth, right?
Yeah.
They know that's all the youth looks at. They just sit there and brain rot. And they don't care about us.
I mean, I get the appeal. I have fallen into the YouTube short rabbit hole before, but I'm like, I can't do this.
I have to tear myself away from it. It's like a bag of chips.
That's why I blocked it, because it's like, I don't want to waste an hour doing this.
That's why you don't buy chips.
Yeah, well, I do buy chips. That is a vice I indulge in.
And Google is also trying to monetize that, and they know that a lot of us might cheat.
Google's waging war on ad blockers, throttling YouTube to force users back in line. Oh, you've blocked an ad. Well, enjoy your 144p stream.
I noticed in Brave, there will be now a stutter. And then you'll get that, are you experiencing interruptions? Like your internet's bad or whatever, that they used to put when the ISPs were throttling them. It's like, no, YouTube, you're the reason.
I ain't watching your ads.
I don't want to, I watch a lot of YouTube. So it's probably fair that I might pay them for the YouTube Red, and of course we benefit from that. So it's like,
Yeah.
But
We hear it.
But by shoving me into it, I'll fight them to the death now.
Yeah, it makes me annoyed.
And they're not the only ones who are trying to get those ad dollars.
WhatsApp is introducing ads in its app. It's time. People are abandoning ship. It's time to insert the ads.
So it's only in one. I don't use WhatsApp, but there's some kind of timeline feed or what's happening feed. So this won't be in your messaging groups or your direct messages to other people. But if you're looking at the summary view, I guess is what it is. You will not have ads in that.
You'll be able to see what other people are looking at, which is, a thing that Meta also got in trouble for recently. We'll talk about, I guess, probably in the business or social section.
I thought it was AI.
Literally then 2 stories.
Oh.
Okay.
We're on the Meta portion.
I forgot this is social this week, not security. Or today.
Yes, and short format video. That's the future.
Facebook announces that all videos on its platform will soon be shared as Reels. Yeah, there was actually a thread that popped up about this on the forum. They're like, "How do I turn this off?" And somebody had gotten like an adult themed reel, and they're like, "Why is this on my timeline? It's not an ad. It's just somebody else's reel that was like, what is this?"
The answer is you can't. All videos will now be reels, and they'll be in two places for a while, but I think they're going to marry them eventually. The video tab has been renamed to the reels tab. Everything now must be shared. And on Meta, sharing is not optional. You will share. You might not know about it, and you might be sharing some really sensitive information. They don't care.
The Meta AI app lets you, quote unquote, discover people's bizarrely personal chats.
This is like being able to see someone's search history. How many jokes over the years have people made like, if I die, please delete my search history?
But it's even worse than that, because you don't go into detail with your search history. It's short format. This is long format. So they found people want maybe the worst one was someone looking for ointment for a scrotal rash. There were people who were looking to have the AI help them build land contracts, including the address. There were people who were cheating on their spouse and looking for ideas on how to hide things. I don't know if they attribute it to the user, but
what a weird thing. Like, people near you are looking for.
Just de-anonymizing these are often trivial because you're telling it details about yourself, which, when you're using AI, remember that someone is looking at that. Always.
This is just a novice programmer that's like, "Oh, this will be innocent," and it's like, "No, what are you doing? This is insane."
I was thinking more like marketing team or someone being like, "This would be a fun feature," and someone raised their hand at that meeting, was like, "Isn't this a huge security problem, or like, isn't it kind of privacy violating?" And everyone was like, "No, ship it."
But I don't buy that at all, because day 2 of testing, if not 10 minutes in, you're going to see one and you're like, oh.
I didn't want to see that.
That's something that we probably shouldn't be showing.
Or you've worked for Meta so long, you don't trust it with anything intrinsically, and that's just like not even a conscious thought anymore. It's like, no, I thought people would only be asking this for cat pictures, and then people could get ideas for AI-generated cat pictures from the Discover feed. I didn't think that anybody would use it for things that are not cat pictures. Because why would you?
Meanwhile, the Facebook department that deals with like all the terrible reports and stuff, they're just
Do you
shaking.
Think that I've taken AI to one of the blocks, the built-in blocks, and it's like, I can't talk about that. I know another person's looking at that one, right? Because it's getting reviewed.
It got flagged.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's those same people.
Oh. So they're underpaid and not actually able to do anything.
Right. Well, you mentioned trusting Meta. What kind of insane person would trust Meta? What kind of insane person would trust the ads on Meta? And that is a problem that these companies have. A lot of people are figuring out, hey, these are actually just giant evil corporations. I need to go somewhere else for realistic advice on maybe something to buy. Well, guess what? They're on to you.
Reddit to turn positive posts into ads for brands.
So many already are that it's often fresh. Like, Reddit used to be pretty good about like, oh, I can find real user reviews of something, but like everywhere else on the internet, that has been filled with garbage.
So they point out, like, if you're on a photography subreddit and you're like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm thinking about getting this camera, somebody's going to post and it's like, oh yeah, here's the pros and cons. That whole post could be carved up by AI and turned into an ad. You don't have a choice. It's in the terms of service.
I really like how, at least on some of the tech subreddits, there are people that have bought something that was dumb, and they realize that they bought something was dumb, and so they will make a post that's like, I bought this thing and I'm really happy with it, and it is more cope than actually like trying to talk about it. And then other people that have made a bad choice will pile on and be like, oh yeah, this is great. And it's like, guys, you could have bought this other thing which does all this other stuff, and it's like costs half as much. Like, are you what? And so there will be people trying to tell them that, and they're all just downvoted into it because it's an echo chamber.
But some of that is also just the desperate need to create content, right? Like, oh, I have to say something. But people need my voice. What will they do without me?
I've had the opposite experience in the niche hobby group I'm part of on Reddit. It's like for ultralight backpacking. If someone has even like the smallest problem with their piece of gear, they will make a post about it and everyone will pile on.
But that's the information we need.
Yeah, I prefer that. I'm sure that's not going to last though. Like, it will become influencer hell.
once upon a time, Consumer Reports was that, and I fear that they have been corrupted.
Wirecutter used to be pretty good for that, and then, I mean, it was always a little bit advertising, but it's become very clear it's advertising now.
Everything is advertising, and you should never trust it. But you should buy one of these mugs.
Store.level1text.com. Don't forget to move to the other channel for more terrible jokes like this and also excellent mugs from store.level1text.com.
We're glass half full of despair.
We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.